Over the years, I've covered a lot of really cool editions of Tolkien books here on the channel. Now, I know some of these editions come with a pretty hefty price tag, and I always see comments, folks wishing that those editions were in their budget, but they're not. And I don't want people to feel disheartened when it comes to collecting Tolkien books. So today, I wanted to go over some of the editions that I think are a nice blend of looking nice on the bookshelf, but not breaking the bank. But I also wanted to give some tips because there are ways that you can snag some of those nicer editions for a much better price. Now, it can be kind of dizzying, the number of Tolkien books that are released on a year-to-year basis. Most of these came out within the last year. A couple of them have been out for a couple years. And they range anywhere from spending maybe 20 bucks to maybe a house payment or so. Now, the first of these budget-friendly options that I wanted to cover are these paperback editions. These are what fans refer to as the signature series. You'll be able to tell each one on the front cover has J.R.R. Tolkien's signature on them, giving them that nickname. And these are definitely a budget-friendly option. These generally you can get for about $10 a piece. So if perhaps, you're looking for a set that'll look nice on the bookshelf, maybe a nice paperback set for reading, this is a really good option in my opinion because it's not going to break the bank. They're going to have a nice uniform look on the front that has that Tolkien signature as well as art going along with each piece. And for the price of a bigger collector's edition, you can basically collect the entire run. Now, these editions started releasing in 2022 and it is now 2025 and there's still more of these planned releases. A quick note, there are different US and UK versions of the signature series. So you'll want to pay attention to which one you are collecting. The US edition has the signature down toward the bottom. The UK version has it up at the top. There are more currently released in the UK than the US right now. I'm not 100% sure what the release plans are, but if you're looking for a more complete set, then you might want to go with the UK editions because they do have many more of them out. They have pretty much the entire run of History of Middle-earth already out, whereas the US hasn't touched History of Middle-earth so far. Now, the cool thing is there's even more of these coming out in 2025, and they're going even beyond Middle-earth proper itself. They've already announced the releases of Rover Random and Smith of Wootton Major. Plus, one that I did not see coming and I'm really pumped about is Tom Shippey's The Road to Middle-earth. Now, this is notable because it's not, strictly speaking, a Tolkien book. This isn't like Christopher Tolkien's History of Middle-earth or Carl Hostetter when he edited The Nature of Middle-earth. This isn't like a collection of Tolkien's writings. This is about Tolkien. So it's kind of opening the door for books that are about Tolkien to be published with this uniform look. Just like all those volumes of History of Middle-earth, Shippey's The Road to Middle-earth has one of those Tolkien sigils on the front cover and has the Tolkien signature on it and everything. So it's really cool that we're going beyond. So feasibly, depending on what their plans are, this might be one of the most uniform editions to collect because you're not only doing Middle-earth and other Tolkien writings, but also works about Tolkien now getting published in this set. Now, not only are the available books a little different and the signature in a different place between US and UK editions, but I've also been told that the sizes are slightly different, so you won't want to mix and match US and UK editions. So whichever one you start collecting, that's the one you're probably going to want to stick with. Unless you're kind of a crazy person, you want to do both. I might end up doing both. Now, I do have one other recommendation today that's a budget-friendly option that comes in hardcover. For those folks who prefer hardcover, whether for reading or displaying, whatever, if you like hardcover, one that I've really liked lately are these hardcover books that are called the Collector's Edition, which admittedly is probably not the most unique label to attach to them, most descriptive perhaps, but I think you'll know them when you see them based on the look of the cover. So always look at the picture to know which volume that you are ordering. And I'll have links to all these in the description so you can hopefully keep them straight on what you're looking for. Now, each of these normally lists for about 35 bucks, but I've seen them pretty commonly on sale for about 20. And again, these aren't gonna be like the fanciest edition. They're not some edition that's chock full of illustration, but they are really nice editions. I really like these for reading, actually. These are really great reading copies, in my opinion. They will come with like the traditional illustrations and maps and stuff that came in the books originally. But these in particular, I really like the covers, the kind of gold foil treatment on The Hobbit here with the woods. Very simplistic, very much leaning into iconography that connects to each of those volumes. Like the Silmarillion here, we have the 2 trees with the 3 Silmarils, which is really nice. A really nice blue and silver color scheme. We've got Fellowship that has fireworks being shot off on the cover. 2 towers, we see some banners of war as an army marches. And then Return of the King, of course, we've got the white tree of Gondor with the 7 stars above it. And again, I don't know what the plans are over with the folks at HarperCollins. Personally, I think this hardcover edition would be a great way to replicate the entire run like they're doing over in the UK with these signature paperback editions. I think a nice, simple hardcover version that's a little easier on the pocketbook would be a great way to just run through the full range of Tolkien's writings. I think that would go over really well with fans. So if anybody out there from HarperCollins is listening, I think this would be a great one. I also think huge illustrated editions, once again, I've said it so many times, individual illustrated editions of the History of Middle-earth would also be really cool. But what about some of these bigger editions that we really go nuts over when they're first announced and they've got impressive features about them or impressive designs? And this is where, if you're a little patient and willing to keep tabs on some of these listings, you can come out with some really good deals. Let's look, for example, at this edition of The Lord of the Rings. This is the illustrated by the author edition. So this has all of Tolkien's illustrations in here. It's got a nice design on the side of the pages, really nice presentation, really clean, nice hardcover book. Now, when this came out, it originally listed for $90, which is a pretty big price tag for a hardcover book, for a 1-volume Lord of the Rings edition. But later, the very year that this book came out, you could see that list price drop significantly. And now I usually see this listed for about $40, and it's been as low as $26, which is a huge price drop from that original list price. And that's all well and good, but there's a lot of hardcover editions. So what if you want something nicer, like the deluxe edition of that same book that's got a bit more of a wow factor to it? It's got the nice slipcover, it's got the gold pages, some fold-out maps, that kind of thing. Now, this guy was originally listed for $250, but now I regularly see it at half the price, $125. I've seen it as low as $100, actually, which, yeah, is still a good chunk of change to spend on a book, but it's a far cry from that original $250 price tag. So all that to say, obviously, I'm a sucker for wanting to order things right away once they're announced. But if you're patient and willing to wait a few months, you can get some pretty good deals on these new editions. Now, if you're like me and you love snagging a good deal, as my Discord can attest to, because even though I own these books, I will often post in Discord when I see a really good deal on these, because I love hooking people up with good deals. I've noticed some retailers will periodically do like these buy 2 get 1 free sales or some variation of that. And a lot of times there'll be Tolkien books on those sales. So like these illustrated by the author editions are often on those sales at their already discounted rate. So there's situations where you could get Hobbit, Silmarillion, and Lord of the Rings, pay for 2 of them, get the 3rd one free. It's even better deal than just getting them on the sale price. Now, for those curious, the retailers that I've seen that regularly do that, here in the US at least, are Amazon and Target. So you might have to do some looking around in your respective country, but Amazon and Target are the 2 that I always see do this at least every few months. Now, one thing to keep in mind when it comes to collecting, there is an exception to that principle that these books will eventually go on sale, and that is things that are limited edition or signed, things like that that have a limited quantity will not go down in price, generally speaking. So things like this super nice deluxe edition of The Hobbit by the Folio Society, absolutely gorgeous edition, signed by Alan Lee. This thing is never going to go on sale. It's sold out in less than 20 minutes, and already you see listings for it on eBay and stuff. The price is only gonna go up on things like that. So if you're one of those who's in the market for something that's limited edition, signed, whatever, that's a limited quantity, just know that it's never gonna go below that original list price, generally speaking, when it comes to Tolkien stuff. But everything else we've seen, tends to go on sale after a number of months. So it's worth keeping tabs on some of those older releases. If you missed out on some of these a couple years ago or a year ago or so, you might be able to circle back and get them for a better deal than you might have initially written them off for. Now, there is one other way to collect Tolkien books that I think is actually really fun, and that is getting them secondhand. Now, these paperback books aren't anything special. You won't probably find them on any most valuable Tolkien books list, but you can find some really fun editions from throughout the decades and decades of Tolkien's books being published with unique covers or unique illustrations. For instance, I got this on a yard sale. This is a first American edition of the Silmarillion. Now, I'm not going to pay for my kids' education or anything with this. I think I paid maybe $3 or $5 for it on the garage sale, and it might be worth $20 or $25, something like that. But personally, I just think it's fun to look for Tolkien books anytime I go to a used bookstore or a garage sale or anything like that, just because you never know what old edition you might be able to find for super, super cheap. And it's kind of fun to have books not just from here recently that are nice and look really cool on the bookshelf, but also some of these older pieces. And you just never know. I mean, maybe I'm corny, but I kind of like to think of the story behind the books. I've found really worn, ragged copies of Tolkien that I've gone ahead and picked up for pennies because, I don't know, I just think maybe that's someone's first introduction to Lord of the Rings and they just couldn't get enough of it and they wore it out because they just loved it so much. And I think that's just kind of a cool, fun piece to have on the bookshelf. Well, there you go, guys. There's some recommendations that I think are kind of fun and good opportunities to collect Tolkien on a budget. I hope this doesn't come off as salesy or whatever, because that's not really the heart behind this. I truly just want to give folks out there an option, for being able to collect stuff around this world that we all love without breaking the bank. And no matter what it is that you like to collect, whether it's Tolkien books or Tolkien collectibles, some other fandom, I always encourage folks, find what's right for you, what you're passionate about, what you like, what appeals to you. Not every edition or every piece is going to be right for you. So when it comes to Tolkien books in particular, find a design that you really like and something that appeals to you, not just design-wise, but also budget-wise. And I have to say before we go, the most important thing, if there's one thing you leave here with, the important lesson is read what's on the inside of these. It is the greatest fantasy world ever created. There are so many amazing life lessons that we can all learn from Middle-earth, and we could all use more Middle-earth in our day-to-day lives. So by all means, collect whatever you want to collect, but don't neglect what's on the inside.